My girlfriend said, "My ex needs a room. He's moving in with us." I just nodded. Okay. Then I packed her stuff, changed the locks, and texted her ex his new address, my driveway. Suddenly, my phone was blowing up with her furious calls. The smell of sawdust and varnish was thick in the garage, just the way I liked it. I had the sliding door cracked open, letting in a bit of late spring breeze as I laid out the maple boards I'd prepped for the new shelving unit. My favorite part of the process was always the planning, the quiet calculation of dovetails, spacing, finish. That kind of precision calmed my brain. I had the music going low on my old speaker, nothing too distracting, just some classic rock in the background while I sketched out the joints. That was when I heard her voice, cheerful and unbothered, slicing right through the stillness. "Yeah, no, I told him already," Naomi was saying as she walked into the garage, phone tucked between her shoulder and ear. She had a towel around her neck and a bottle of cucumber water in her hand. He was super chill about it. Honestly, I was kinda surprised. I glanced up. "Told me what?" Naomi paused, then turned to me like I'd just been summoned mid-conversation. "Babe, I was just talking to Tasha. So, listen. Eric lost his lease again, the studio downtown. Landlord's being a complete ass. So, he's gonna crash here for a bit. Just a few weeks, till he figures things out." I stood still. Literally didn't move. My pencil hovered an inch above the sketch. I didn't even blink. Naomi continued, like she'd just mentioned she was picking up oat milk. "He doesn't have anywhere else to go, and you know how tiny his mom's place is. It'd be weird for him to go back there at his age." I swallowed, brain still buffering. "Okay." She smiled, like I just said the sweetest thing. "I knew you'd be cool about it. You're so damn supportive. Seriously, I told Tasha you'd take it like a champ." She kissed me on the cheek, a quick, dismissive press of lips, then turned back toward the house. "I'm gonna soak for a bit. My shoulders are killing me." That bar class was brutal. And just like that, she was gone. I stared at the empty doorway, her flip-flops slapping the hardwood echoing faintly. Somewhere in the house, bathwater started running. I could hear her humming. Eric. Her ex was moving into my house. And I just agreed to it like a deer in headlights. The sketch pad dropped from my hand. I didn't even realize I was holding it. I had no idea what the hell just happened. But I knew one thing for sure. Something was off. Way off. I didn't move for a long time. The pencil had rolled off the workbench and hit the floor, but I couldn't even bring myself to pick it up. The garage felt too quiet now, the music too light, like it was mocking me. The hum of bathwater running through the pipes inside sounded louder than it should have. I leaned against the bench, trying to get my breathing under control. My heart wasn't pounding exactly, but it was firm, like it had braced itself for impact. Eric. I hadn't heard that name in months. But the truth was, he'd never really gone away. He was like background static in our relationship. Little mentions here and there. Eric used to make me the best French toast. Or, that's the book Eric left behind. It's actually really good. Sometimes it was just a song on her playlist she forgot to delete. And when I'd asked, early on, if they still talked, she gave me that look. That weird smile that wasn't quite a smirk. "We're adults, Ethan. We don't have to be weird about the past. Right?" I rubbed my hands together, suddenly aware of how gritty they were with sawdust. It should have grounded me. That texture usually did, but not this time. All I could think about was how casually she'd said it. Like hosting your ex in the house you share with your boyfriend was normal. I wanted to scream. Not at her, but at myself. For the way I just nodded. For the way I said, sure, like it was no big deal. For the way I let her praise me for it like I was some obedient little pet. That was the moment I realized something. This wasn't a one-time boundary cross. This wasn't bad judgment or some awkward situation she didn't know how to handle. This was a move. A test. Or maybe not even that, maybe just a declaration. She'd already made the decision. My input was irrelevant. I stood up, slow and deliberate, and walked into the house. Her humming floated faintly down the hallway. I passed the closed bathroom door and didn't pause. Instead, I went straight to the bedroom. And I started packing. Not my stuff. Hers. I didn't rage, didn't throw anything. I just opened the drawers, one at a time, and started folding. Jeans, t-shirts, workout leggings, all stacked neatly in the canvas boxes from under the bed. Her toiletries went into the travel case she kept in the closet. It was mechanical, not impulsive. If anything, it felt overdue. I set her things in the hallway quietly, then stepped outside to call the locksmith. Emergency lockout, I said. Yeah, lost key situation. Need it changed tonight if possible. The guy on the phone said he could be there within the hour. Perfect, I told him. I'll be here. And I was. By the time Naomi stepped out of her lavender-scented bath, robe wrapped around her like a queen, the locks on the front door had already been changed. She didn't know it yet, but her stay was officially over. The sky had gone dark by the time I finished. The porch light flickered on automatically, casting a pale cone of yellow over the front steps. I stood there in the quiet, arms slightly sore from carrying box after box out of the bedroom. Her things were now lined up neatly along the curb for canvas bins, 2 suitcases, 1 laundry basket, and her overnight duffel bag sitting right on top like a cherry on a messed-up Sunday. The street was still. Just the occasional buzz of a distant lawnmower and some TV sounds leaking from the neighbor's window. Naomi was still in the bathroom. I didn't know how long she spent in there, an hour? Maybe more? I half expected her to come out mid-process and ask what I was doing, but she never did. Honestly, I didn't care anymore. The second she told me Eric was moving in without even asking, she gave up the right to expect anything from me. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through old texts until I found his number. Eric's contact was still in there from months ago, back when Naomi's car had a flat, and I'd called him, at her request, to ask what kind of jack she'd used on it before. She'd said he knew the setup better since it used to be his. I never deleted the number. Funny how things come back around. I snapped a photo of the boxes, clear, centered, with our house in the background just enough to make the location unmistakable. Then I typed out a message. Naomi's new place. Figured you'd want to get a head start. I hit send. No dramatic punctuation. No sarcasm. Just that. A second later, the message said, delivered. I went back inside, locked the newly changed door, and sat down in the living room. The couch creaked under me like it always did, the same way it had the first time Naomi sat on it, laughing at some movie and tucking her legs under mine. I stared at the blank TV for a while. My chest wasn't tight exactly, but I felt hollow. Not regret. Not sadness. Just the dull echo of something that used to feel like love. Then the phone lit up. First it was Naomi. Then again. Followed by Eric. Then Naomi again. Messages, missed calls, alerts stacking one after the other like dominoes tipping over. I didn't answer. I just sat there with my hands clasped and my eyes steady on the door, listening to the silence inside the house that finally felt like mine again. The first knock was sharp, 2 solid pounds that rattled the frosted glass in the door. I checked the time, 1:45 a.m. Another knock came before I even stood up. Then Naomi's voice, sharp and shrill through the wood. Ethan, open the damn door. I walked over slowly, no rush in my steps. The porch light cast long shadows on the front walkway. Through the peephole, I saw her standing there barefoot in leggings and an oversized hoodie. Her wet hair clung to her face in messy strands. Eric stood behind her, half a step back, arms crossed. He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. She pounded again. I swear to God, Ethan, you better open this door right now. I flipped the deadbolt, but didn't open it. Just stood there with my hand on the knob and spoke through the thick wood. You don't live here anymore. You're out of your mind, she yelled, her voice cracking a little. You think you can just throw me out like some stranger? You didn't ask, I said calmly. You declared. That's not how this works. There was a beat of silence, like she didn't know how to respond. Then came the pivot. This is abusive, she snapped. Do you know that? This is controlling, vindictive behavior. You're unhinged. I almost laughed. You told me your ex was moving into our house, Naomi. You said it like you were telling me what we were having for dinner. Eric shifted beside her, eyes glancing toward the street. He hadn't said a word yet. Just stood there like a backup dancer in a music video he didn't want to be in. I gave you everything, I said through the door, quieter now. Support. Trust. A home. And you decided none of that mattered. Oh, please, she spat. You're just mad that I'm not begging for your permission like some little housewife. No, I said, leaning my forehead briefly against the door. I'm mad that I was building something real while you were already halfway out the door. Eric finally cleared his throat. Maybe we should just grab the stuff and go, Naomi. She spun on him. Are you kidding me? He threw my things on the sidewalk like garbage. Yeah, Eric mumbled, eyes down. But they're still in boxes. Another silence. Then came the change in pitch. A slow, low whine that was supposed to sound like heartbreak. I can't believe you're doing this to me, she whispered. After everything we've been through. You mean everything I did for you? I said. Because that's not the same thing. She banged on the door one last time. You'll regret this. I didn't answer. They stood there for a few more seconds. Then I heard Eric mutter something, and footsteps retreated down the porch. I went back to the couch, sat down, and let the quiet settle in again. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was Rachel, Naomi's friend. We hadn't talked in weeks. What the hell happened? She's saying you kicked her out with no warning. I stared at the screen, rubbed my face, and typed back. She told me her ex was moving in. I told her she wasn't. A pause. Then Rachel replied. Jesus. Okay, I didn't know that part. Still, you went nuclear. I didn't argue. I just turned the phone over and let the silence have the rest of the night. By the next morning, I'd already talked to Marcus. He was a guy I used to work with at the flooring supply place before I went full-time with woodworking. Smart guy. Quiet, but sharp. These days, he split time between paralegal gigs and doing paperwork for a local real estate attorney. I texted him first. Need to talk. Might have kicked my girlfriend out of the house last night. He called within 5 minutes. We sat on a bench outside a bakery downtown, the kind that sold $6 croissants, and acted like that was a bargain. I sipped my coffee while Marcus scrolled through his mental checklist. She get mail there? He asked. Yeah, a lot of it. Bank stuff, Amazon orders, subscriptions. He nodded grimly. She pay for anything in the house. Groceries, furniture, bills. Sometimes. She bought that little green couch in the sunroom. And, I don't know, she'd buy shampoo and snacks. Not rent or anything. Marcus scratched his chin. Okay, so, technically, she might be able to claim informal residency. Not a leaseholder, but a resident. Which means if she wanted to push it legally, file a complaint, say you evicted her without notice. She'd have a case? She'd have a headache, he corrected. Not a slam dunk case, but enough to get the wrong kind of attention. Civil court loves stuff like this. They live for petty domestic chaos. I leaned back against the bench. So what do I do? He looked at me flat. Document everything. Dates, texts, receipts. If she left stuff behind, don't toss it. Box it, take photos. Offer to return it civilly. No yelling, no blocking, no posting about her online. Be boring. Judges love boring. I nodded slowly. I can do boring. Marcus smirked. Good. And don't let her back in. Not even to talk. You opened that door, and now she's back in the house. You'll be the one explaining that to a sheriff. Later that night, I got a text from Eric. Hey man, Naomi says she left a few essentials. Toothbrush, meds, charger. Mind if I come pick them up? I stared at the screen for a moment. It was polite, measured, like he wanted to come off as the good guy in all this. I typed back. I'll pack them. You can grab the box from the porch this weekend. I'll text when it's ready. No hostility. No emotion. Just boring. Like Marcus said. Eric replied. Cool. Appreciate it. I put the phone down, stood in the hallway, and stared at the now empty coat rack where Naomi's scarf used to hang. Legal lines or not, the house already felt different. Mine again. But I had a feeling it wouldn't stay quiet for long. It was a Tuesday when the last puzzle piece clicked into place. I was in the break room at work, eating leftover pasta from a plastic container, when Alicia slid into the chair across from me. She worked in purchasing, friendly, sharp, never too nosy. But today, she looked like she had something heavy on her chest. You still with that Naomi girl? She asked, stabbing at her salad like it had wronged her personally. I chewed slowly. Nope. That ended dramatically. Alicia nodded like she already knew. My friend Deshawn used to live with Eric, she said. Her ex. The one you mentioned a while back. Small world, huh? I straightened a little. You serious? Dead serious, she said, leaning in. Deshawn said Eric was crashing at his place up until a few weeks ago. Said he kept talking about getting Naomi to move in. I blinked. Wait, move in? Like, she'd go live with him? Yeah, Alicia said. But here's the kicker. He wasn't looking for a new lease. He wasn't kicked out. He just wanted an excuse for Naomi to rescue him. Said, and I quote, if I play this right, she'll leave that tool she's with and I won't have to pay a dime for rent. She watched my face, waiting for the reaction. It came slower than expected. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel shocked. I just felt sick. She said he lost his lease. I muttered. Said he needed a place to crash, just for a few weeks. Alicia nodded. Yeah, he was never planning to be your house guest. He wanted her to choose him. And she did. I looked down at my pasta, appetite gone. For weeks, I'd been wondering if I'd overreacted. If maybe I'd jumped the gun, gone too far, misunderstood her intentions. But now I knew. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a setup. A quiet, premeditated betrayal wrapped in bubble wrap and handed to me with a smile. After work, I sat in my truck for a while before driving home. I opened my phone and found Rachel's number, Naomi's friend. The one who called that night after the fallout. I sent her a screenshot of the text conversation with Eric, then a short message. Turns out Eric never lost his lease. He just wanted Naomi to move in. She wasn't on it. A minute later, Rachel replied, Wow, I don't even know what to say. I didn't either. That weekend, I packed the last of Naomi's stuff. A few forgotten hair products, a scarf, some kitchen junk she always said she'd reorganize. I set the box in the apartment building lobby where Eric was now staying, sent him a quick message. Last of her things. I won't be packing anything else. He replied with just a thumbs up emoji. No words. No apology. No lies. Good. I was done with words anyway. The first Instagram story was vague. A soft focus selfie of Naomi, her eyes red-rimmed, caption with, Some people only love you when they can control the narrative. I didn't respond. Not to that. Not to the next one either, which showed her curled up on a couch with a blanket over her knees, some quote about growth through heartbreak, typed across the screen. By the end of the week, the stories got bolder. When a woman makes a choice, weak men retaliate. Funny how fast people show their true colors when you stop living for their approval. Some men can't handle strong women making their own decisions. That last one got reshared. A few mutuals posted clapping emojis, hearts. One guy we both knew from her yoga studio replied in the comments, "You deserve peace, queen." I almost laughed. People love drama when it's not theirs. They love a clean story. A villain, a victim, a brave escape. And Naomi gave them one. Trimmed, filtered, emotionally curated to make her look like some bold woman standing up to oppression. The part about moving her ex-boyfriend into her current boyfriend's house. Left out. The part about making that decision without so much as a conversation. Gone. The truth didn't fit the aesthetic. I started getting texts from people I hadn't talked to in months. "Hey man, what happened with Naomi? She's posting some stuff. Just wanted to check if you're okay. She says you went off the rails." I don't know what to think. I replied to none of them. Not because I didn't care. Because I did for a while. But trying to defend yourself to people who've already picked sides is like yelling underwater. Let them think what they want. I stayed quiet. I didn't post. I didn't share my side. I didn't drop receipts or screenshots. Instead, I worked. I started showing up early at the shop again. Fixed a warped cabinet I'd been avoiding. Repainted the back wall of the garage. Took on a custom table order for a couple in Brentwood who didn't blink at a 4-figure quote. The house was quieter, but better. No tension in the kitchen. No passive-aggressive comments over takeout. No pretending. Just me, the tools, the grain of wood, and the silence. Naomi could spin her version as long as she wanted. I wasn't playing. Because while she posted stories, I was building mine. One that didn't need likes or validation. Just peace. Rachel called me on a Thursday night. No preamble, no small talk. I confronted her, she said. I sat on the back steps with a beer in hand, watching the wind nudge leaves across the yard. And she denied it at first. Said I was just parroting your bitterness, whatever that means. But when I told her I talked to someone who knows Eric's old roommate, she got quiet. Quiet's a new one, I said. Yeah. Then she got defensive. Said she never promised Eric anything, just didn't want him to end up on the street. Like it was all some noble charity. I let that sit for a second. She's still with him? I asked. Rachel sighed. For now, but I don't think it's going well. She doesn't post about him, and when I asked if they were living together, she said it was complicated. Isn't it always? Rachel hesitated, then said, I'm sorry, Ethan. I didn't see it before. She's slippery. Makes you think you're the one being unreasonable. Yeah, I muttered. Took me longer than I'd like to admit. The next day, I emailed Naomi's sister, Rebecca. I kept it simple. No bitterness, no dig. Just a list of what Naomi had left behind. Hairdryer, a couple books, some clothes, and attached a photo of the pack box with a note. All returned. No items retained. Please confirm receipt. At the bottom, I added a single paragraph about what had actually happened. Dates. Her announcement. The lock change. Eric's message. Rebecca wrote back that night. Thanks for the update. I won't get in the middle of things, but I appreciate the maturity. For what it's worth, I believe you. It wasn't an apology, but it was enough. Meanwhile, Naomi kept trying to stir the pot. She sent a text demanding I return our shared olive oil. Said she'd left a yoga mat and a mixing bowl, both of which were clearly hers. I checked, they weren't. The bowl was mine, bought in a clearance pack. The mat, one I'd owned since college. I didn't reply. Her messages came a little less often after that, each one smaller than the last. By the end of the week, she was asking about a wine opener. I boxed it up and left it on the porch. No note, no photo, just the end. The web she spun had started to fray, threads coming loose. The people she thought would rally behind her were peeling off one by one. She had started this thinking she could rewrite the story. But now, the truth was writing itself. It had been 5 weeks since the storm blew through and left the house in silence. There were no more texts, no cryptic stories, no olive oil or yoga mat disputes. Naomi had gone quiet, or at least, quiet in my world. I was sure she was still spinning the story somewhere, but she wasn't spinning it at me anymore. I stood in the garage one morning, staring at the wall I'd repainted. It used to be a pale, faded blue. Something she picked out, said it gave the space light. Now it was dark forest green. Deep, clean mine. The kind of color that didn't care what it was supposed to look like. There was a rhythm to things again. I wasn't happy exactly, but I wasn't walking on eggshells. That counted for more than I thought it would. I took on more custom work. A couple dining tables. A headboard. Even said yes to a mentorship thing through the community college, teaching woodworking basics to kids who had no idea how to hold a chisel. One of them called me sir the whole time. I didn't correct him. The house felt different. Not just emptier. Clearer. The kind of quiet you get when a bad song finally ends. One Saturday afternoon, I was cleaning out the storage bench in the entryway and found one of her scarves stuffed in the corner. Gray wool, scratchy, probably something she bought because it looked expensive. I held it for a second. Thought about setting it aside. Then I tossed it into the trash can without ceremony and kept moving. Marcus came by for beers that night. We sat on the deck, watching the sun melt into the trees. "You good?" he asked after a while. I nodded. "Getting there." He tipped his bottle toward me. "You made the right call. Still feels weird sometimes," I admitted. "Like I'm not angry anymore, but I'm not okay either." "Yeah," he said. "That's because you didn't win anything. You just stopped losing." That stuck with me. A week later, Rachel texted one final update. Naomi and Eric moved into some sublet. She's miserable. Says he's moody, broke, doesn't clean. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. They'd gotten exactly what they wanted, each other. What they didn't get was me. That was the real shift. Not throwing out her things. Not changing the locks. It was reclaiming space. In my house. In my time. In my head. I wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. Not to Naomi. Not to her friends. Not even to myself. I just woke up, drank my coffee, turned on the sander, and kept building. That wasn't triumph. It was survival. And that was enough.